We are going to do a little Q&A with Christie Mann here. My name is Chrissy Bernal, and I have been working with the Lil Sass brand for almost 5 years now, somewhere between 4 and 5. It's been a while. And I've been so excited to be part of the journey because I just feel like it's so needed. And this was even before the pandemic. It's even more of a necessity now for us to be talking about emotional wellness and mental health and just giving people tools to be able to have good connections with their emotions. And I know just when working with you, I myself have grown even more. So I know that the message works because I've seen it. So, so I want to just kick it off. We'll start off. Maybe you can talk about where Lil Sass came from. Like, who is Lil Sass and why is she called Lil Sass, that sort of thing. So
All
if you
right.
want to start there, give us a little background.
Yes. Okay. So I'm trying to remember. I've always just liked that name, Lil Sass. You know, I definitely throughout the years I have been told that I am a little sass, that I'm sassy, and I've definitely met many other people who have been called the same, and I tend to attract a lot of other little sasses, you being one of them. So to me, it's a term of endearment. It's a term of like, this is a person who is, alive. There's some fire. And the inspiration for the character came, I think it has been 7 or 8 years ago when I was taking a master's in spiritual psychology, and we had to do a capstone project. And at that time, I wanted to write these children's books because I really wanted to bring more awareness around emotions. And so I had started to think about this character of Little Sass. But the teacher at the time said, no, it's not the time for you to do that project. It needs to come at the right time so that it's not just like something you check off your list, because the mission is, it's important. Not that the other projects that I had put forward weren't, it's just that she was having some kind of intuition. So the bottom line is the inspiration for her came around about 8 years ago. And I was thinking about her for at least 3 or 4 years before she actually came to fruition. And her real name, the character's real name, is Grace. And that's just a name that I've always loved. I've always hoped that one day I would have a daughter and I would call her Grace. And so Little Sass kind of is my illustration daughter, or my character daughter. So her real name is Grace, but she's called Lil Sass because she's very independent. She's clever. She's got that like fire that I mentioned.
She definitely does.
She definitely does. She's sassy. And she's actually really, really curious about the world and about emotions, which, we can go there because that is the bigger mission of what this character is bringing out and what the whole purpose behind these books and this brand are.
Exactly. Yeah. So expand on that a little bit more. Why these books focus on emotions and what your intent was about them, because while they are children's books, I have a feeling you had a bigger intent. Or intention, yeah.
Yeah. So the personal connection is that for me, when I was 13, my family went through really, really hard times. And I think for many people of my generation, we weren't raised by or had like a slew of therapists and psychologists and coaches around us, right?
Yeah.
Times have shifted. But I know myself and a lot of my community, we were told, don't have your emotions.
Right.
Put it under the rug. Be a good girl, be a good boy. We all have a version of that. And because of that, and because I went through such an intense traumatic experience at a young age, I found that in my mid to late 20s, I said, wow, I don't even know how to truly cry or be angry in a responsible way. And even being joyful, there was something not connecting. So I started my own journey of healing around 25, 26, and I'm 43 now, and I'm still on it. And it will be never ending. I can tell you that we're never done. But the reason why the focus is on emotions is because had I had a tool like these books that talk about emotions, I think in an accessible way with a fun story and really cool characters, and that an adult could have sat down with me and read the book, that would have really helped me in my journey. I feel like I would have, not that I'm glad that I've been doing the personal development, professional development and therapy and whatnot, but I just feel like emotional wellness, like mental wellness, is stepped over. And had I had resources like this, had my family had resources like this, aunts, uncles, babysitters, cousins, I think it would have made a difference. So
I think you're right. I think you're right. Because
yeah.
you and I are about the same age, and growing up, it's, you didn't want to say, if you started crying, oh, I'm sorry. And, you just couldn't really express them. Only positive emotions were what you should express. And so, yeah, having something like this at a young age to really retrain how to think about that's going to be great for some of these youngsters. So they're really actually pretty lucky that you wrote these books.
Thank you, Chrissy. Well, I think about the other reason why I took this approach, and I work with adults. Essentially, I've been, for the past 15 years, developing leaders through coach training, through coactive coaching and other leadership modalities. And what I learned
and that's the
process,
UpLevel side of things, which is why I'm logged in from that one, because the two brands work together so closely.
Yeah, and so now we're doing all of that work under UpLevel Productions, and the working with adults is the other reason why I wrote these books, is because when I was doing, or still to this day, when I do the coach training, a lot of adults wouldn't necessarily drop into their emotions unless they start talking about their children. It's like they give themselves permission to feel when it's connected to their child. So I thought, well, let's create some books, because then the caretaker, the aunt, the uncle, the mom, the big sibling might feel a little bit more, I don't know what the word is, but safe, or just because the books, at the back of the books, there's a discussion guide in every book, that there's these prompts for the adult and the child to talk about that particular emotion. And we got a lot of feedback from teachers and caretakers and parents saying, oh my goodness, are these books for me? We're like, yeah, they are for you. Kind of. And that's where that came from. That came from working with adults for many years and seeing the connection and seeing the opportunity. And again, not wanting children to have a repeat of what I went through, or many of our generation went through.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, I think that resource in the back is something that's super helpful, because while, it's a great story, each one is a great story, the resource really kicks it up a notch and gives nice conversation starters for how to have the conversations with the kids. So I think that's really important, that it's going to give them a tool and an additional, it's like, here you can tell the story, but then now you can keep going with your own conversation. So I'm really glad that you included those in the back of the book. Let's see here. I had a couple questions. I think the book talks a lot about capes. Talk about the cape and what that has to do with the whole thing.
Yes. Okay. And I have my cape here, my trusty cape. Never leave home without it. So there we go. Got it on.
Nice.
Get your cape on. And that's kind of the tagline, cape on, which means feel your feels. Put your cape on and feel your feels. And the way that I looked at the cape, well, I do have a personal fetish with capes. I just always love capes. I love like kimonos and things that like hang. And I always thought I wanted to do something with a cape. And when I thought about Lil Sass, I thought, well, she is a superhero. She's an emotions superhero. And that's what she's here to teach. And so in the book, this character named Mrs. Moo, who was inspired by a personal family friend who was a huge help for me in my emotional journey. And in the book, Mrs. Moo is actually, she is a therapist that lives in a house in the backyard of Lil Sass's property. And she gives Lil Sass the cape. And she says, in life, you're going to have sad days, angry days, joyful days. Put on this cape and feel your emotions, because that is your birthright. That's your right as a human being. So the cape represents an opportunity to put a focus on the emotion in a healthy and responsible way.
So it's a tool that helps kids and adults, because I know you have capes of all sizes, but
Capes of
gives
all
themselves
sizes.
permission to feel that, and gives themselves permission to let that emotion have a seat at the table, so that it can be, it can be acknowledged and not feel judged. And I know that a lot of times that's what we do. If we have a negative, quote unquote, negative emotion come up, oftentimes we feel bad about having that emotion. So I love that you're talking about all emotions, and in that cape, giving people permission to feel them. So the first 3 books are about so you've got the sadness, then you've got joy, and then you've got anger.
We've got sadness, we've got joy, and we've got anger.
Nice.
Yes.
And I love that you did both the happy side of things and the I'm not so happy side of things. But I know that you've got plans for the future. So you're going to be covering additional emotions, correct?
That's right. And so before I say more about that, what I do want to say is the way that we view emotions, and I know it's common in our culture that we'll say they're negative and positive, but we just view them as part of the human experience. And one of the purpose behind these adventures, these stories, this brand, is to eliminate that stigma that, it's a negative emotion to be sad or angry, and it's a positive emotion to be happy or joyful. It's just a state. All it is an emotional state, and it's giving us feedback to let us know something is out of balance and some energy needs to move through our systems. I mean, that's really the science behind it. Brene Brown, who is for me, like a guru when it comes to research around emotions, she's just released a new book called Atlas of the Heart. She's studied 83 emotions. Here's what she said about emotions is that if people don't have the vocabulary to describe these emotional states, they'll just stick with sad, angry, joy. But there are so many other human emotional experiences to have. So part of what I want to do through the brand is increase our education and awareness around multiple emotions and these states that we experience as humans, to one, educate about emotions, but end the stigma that we can't have them.
Interesting.
So there's that. That's some context.
Very cool. So then potentially there could be dozens and dozens and dozens of Lil Sass books.
Yeah, according to Brene Brown, we could have 80, maybe 83. And and actually, there are so many emotion researchers or therapists, and nobody agrees on the definition of emotion. It's such a vast body of work. And so I think as humanity just continues to evolve, we'll get more awareness. But what I think's happened over the past 2 years, do you hear that lovely bird that's chirping right here?
He's agreeing with you.
Yeah, he's joyful, and now he's creating frustration in me. So thank you, buddy. Thanks for your participation.
Little birdie said.
Little birdie. So over the past 2 years, most people that I've spoken with, they have had an increased level of emotions because we've been in this collective trauma. We've experienced, the stats will show you unprecedented levels of depression, anxiety, suicide. And again, because we do not have the vocabulary in our culture, nor do we have tools that are accessible in the house, that's why we're doing this work. So we have 4 new books, 4 new adventures in the hopper with 4 new collaborators who are all people of color and different social identity to Lil Sass and to me. And that felt really important also because of what we've all gone through the past 2 years, that it was time to really expand the brand, its reach into different communities, different races, different cultures, because different races, different cultures, different communities have a different relationship with the emotions. And so the first 3 books, really, it comes from more of a dominant culture, white middle upper class perspective. And it's,
from your experiences, yeah.
From my experience, right? And so what I wanted to do was to grow it. And so we've done that, and we'll hold back on talking about the collaborators because we've got lots of beautiful opportunities to bring them forward so you can hear their stories and learn more about them. But what I will say is the 4 emotions we chose to work with, and again, inspired by the past 2 years, have been isolation, loneliness, grief, and freedom.
I think those are definitely 4 emotions that are universal, that everyone can resonate with and really want to understand more about, especially children.
Yeah,
so I think it's perfectly timed.
I mean, I have been feeling those 4, and for me personally, working on this brand and this mission is very healing. It continues to be something that heals me from my younger years. And those 4 emotional states were things that felt very prominent over the past 2 years. And like you said, for many.
Yeah. So the first 3 you wrote on your own, but you talked about having collaborators on these next 4. What was it like, the experience in writing with other collaborators this time versus the last time when it was just you?
It was amazing. It was amazing. The way that we set it up is they chose the emotion that most resonated in their own journey, their own lived experience. Yeah. Okay. And it just so happened that there were these 4 emotions that we were collectively feeling, vibing with. So they chose it. And as you get to know them, you'll hear their personal stories connected to that emotion. And then they crafted the essence of the character. Just like I crafted the essence of Lil Sass, they crafted the essence of the new little adventurer. And then I took that and I put it in, template feels like such a, not the right word, but there is a rhythm, if you will, of the books. There's existing characters that I wanted to continue to be part of the franchise, like Mr. OG, who is a mentor down at the Venice Beach roller rink, who teaches the kids how to roller skate and is such a beacon of light and positivity, and encourages them to be with their emotions. And then
I've met him in real life, so he is awesome.
Yeah, he's so special, such a special person. And then Mrs. Moo is still part of the books, and she, in her character, continues to give each adventurer, each kid, a cape that represents their emotion and like her pep talk. It's your right of as a human being, feel your feels. So, and then Lil Sass is still in the books too, and she's more of a background supporting character, and she's ensuring that the all of her new friends get their cape on too.
Awesome. I love it. So Lil Sass is expanding her world and helping other people expand their own worlds with the different emotions. So that's awesome. Well, I can't wait until we can start to reveal what these 4 particular characters are and start to show what they look like. I think it's so neat that you allowed the collaborator to help you craft what the character was going to be, because that just makes so much sense that it would reflect really what they saw and what they experienced rather than you trying to interpret that. So I think that's really neat, and it's going to be really authentic that you did that. Nice.
Yeah, and one of the things I've been learning and unlearning is, I mean, I haven't been in their shoes, right? All four are part of marginalized communities that I have not had that lived experience. So it wouldn't be, like you said, genuine, authentic if I had crafted the character, because that's not how I've been raised. You know, that's not the world I've lived in. So the books are subtly touching on some of these social justice topics that as a culture we've also been navigating, and I just felt it was important to expand the conversation and bring more diversity into it, because it's going to enrich more people getting in touch with their emotions and having a healthy, responsible relationship with them. And that's ultimately the purpose of the Adventures of Lil Sass.
And I think you're right too, in that these topics that are covered in the next four books, parents can sometimes find it difficult. How do you have these conversations with kids, and what do I say, what do I not say, that sort of thing. So I'm really excited that again, you're going to be including resources in the back of this one, and then I know you have resources on the Lil Sass website too. So I'm really excited that how much it's going to support caregivers and parents and just anyone who has children in their lives, that they can help with this. Because it's, you know, sometimes kids don't want to talk to their parents about emotions, but they might talk to an aunt or grandma or, you know,
babysitter, you know, caretaker, a big cousin.
Exactly. So it's important for everyone to feel equipped or feel like they have some tools to help kids navigate this. Let's see here. When are you, I guess, well, when each book is released, you mentioned earlier, we'll get to hear the story about the collaborator. So is there going to be like this sort of a Q&A with them, or just a video?
Yeah.
Tell us about that.
Yeah, the vision will be that we'll have 5 to 6 days, a ceremony, if you will, or launch celebrations. And these launches will be wrapped around obviously reading the book and presenting the book, and also sharing the collaborator and their story through Q&A mode like this, and also inviting other guests who pertain to that individual's journey, and will help illustrate some of the so for example, in the Adventures of Isolation, I'm not going to reveal the name yet of the collaborator, but in the Adventures of Isolation, we're going to talk to some formerly incarcerated people, because formerly incarcerated people or incarcerated people understand isolation. So there's a lot for us to learn from these folks. We're also going to talk to folks who are working on recidivism and reformation to support formerly incarcerated people, or folks impacted by foster care, how to build skills to re-enter society. And so that's the kind of stuff we're going to get into to, again, expand awareness around these emotions, different resources, different lived experiences.
I love it.
That's the plan. And we got some big things coming up, Chrissy.
Yeah, you know, and what I love is that you're taking topics that are, like I mentioned earlier, hard for some, you know, parents. Sometimes they don't know how to have these conversations with kids, and you're putting them into fun stories. I mean, these stories are just fun that anybody's going to enjoy reading. And, you know, you and I both know that story, everybody, I feel like I hear the word story tossed around a lot now. Like everybody wants to deliver their message in a story. But so, you know, everybody's starting to realize that getting a message across in a story format is going to stay in your brain more so than throwing out statistics or something like that. So this is going to help the talk around emotions stick with the children, but also the adults as well, because we need it too. So I'm excited that these stories are just good stories.
Thank you. I'm excited. Like, I'm glad you think that. I hope others do as well. And like we've always seen the stories, the brand, it's as much a resource for adults as it is for children. Most definitely.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely. So you have, Lil Sass and UpLevel are working closely together. What's your vision for that as it grows together?
Yeah. So UpLevel Productions actually came to life the same year that Lil Sass did. And UpLevel Productions has always been the publisher of these books. And last year, I brought on a business partner, or I should say, she said yes to my request to co-lead this bigger vision with me. And UpLevel Productions does a lot of different things. Our area of focus is the leadership development and coach training. We are official licensees for the coactive intellectual property, which we bring inside organizations. We support leaders to take a coach approach to their leadership. We develop cadres of internal coaches, and we help create coaching cultures. We also have our own UpLevel off-the-shelf products, again, all around leadership development and emotional leadership, which this is the body of work that I'm developing on my own which was inspired by the Adventures of Lil Sass. Because we had such overwhelming feedback from adults and saying, oh, wow, these books are really for me. I was like, yes, they are. And they asked us to create something for them. And so we did. So we have the Emotional Leadership Academy, which is a 6-week experience online to go deeper in one's emotions, learn about the scientific and evolutionary purpose of our emotions, and ways to have a healthier, more responsible relationship with them. So we have products around that. And Rachel Baldy, who is my business partner, she is a grief expert, coach, and death doula. And so she's got products all around grief as well. And then we're doing the books. You know, this expansion of the Lil Sass brand is the umbrella. It's all housed under UpLevel Productions. Our mission at UpLevel Productions is to develop leaders to make this world healthier, more connected, and more alive place to be. So I think everything that we're doing helps support a world that is healthier, more alive, and more connected.
Yeah, I love that you shared that too, because it made me think that with your leadership experience or your leadership development experience, you're bringing it into the Lil Sass books as well, and that emotional leadership, and it's going to help these kids get started at being little emotional leaders even stronger than, they won't have to struggle as much to try and do it, because as much, as many of us do as we get older, we start to dive into ourselves and really try and understand ourselves. And so having those tools from a young age is going to make it easier for them to do that. And I'm glad that you shared a little bit about what you do at UpLevel as well, because I think that speaks to your experience. And if anybody's going, well, why is this lady writing these books? Why her? So explain a little bit more about your background. I know you mentioned earlier about your MBA, but there's so much more to you. You've got a lot of expertise in this area.
Well, I mean, here's what makes my first credential is I don't have a healthy and responsible relationship with my emotions. Okay. And I think most folks who pursue a path that feels aligned to their purpose, it's because there's something within them that they're healing and working on. And so, as I mentioned at the start of this live, is I did not have these resources as a young child, and I went through a traumatic experience. And my hope is that these help people. But I have been on this journey of healing it's coming up on 20 years, which is pretty wild. And like I said, it's never complete. We're never complete. And so I've gone really deep into different bodies of work. So I am on faculty for the Coactive Training Institute. So deep into that body of work, I have a master's in spiritual psychology, which taught me, I can't even explain how much it expanded me and helped me grow. But the bottom line is I learned a modality, like the bottom line is it would help the emotional leadership, is I learned a modality called Gestalt. And Gestalt is a form of therapy where you facilitate internal dialogues for folks. So if someone is really struggling with anger, as their facilitator, I help them a dialogue with that emotion so that they can find out, what is this emotion? Why is it appearing? What does it need? What does it want? How can this person be with that emotion? So the spiritual psychology program, that was one of the things it supported me with. In addition, I've gone deep into embodiment work, healing my own relationship with my body, so I become more comfortable with not just the physical body, but through my training. Whenever I start listing this, it's like I get exhausted. But my training in Kundalini yoga and meditation, which is really focused on the energetic body, and so my studies have been creating a deeper relationship with the emotional body, the physical body, the energetic body, mental health, and spiritual wellness. And these are all areas that are infused in all the work that I do, whether I'm doing coach training or I'm doing emotional leadership, writing the books in the brand of Adventures of Lil Sass. It's all kind of coming through. All of those lineages of ancient wisdom. You know, I'm so grateful for all the teachers that I've been able to sit with and study with, and then their teachers and so on. So yeah.
You're condensing it all down, and you're making it real simple in the books so that all the big words that you just said are easy to read, because they're, you know, children's stories instead.
Right.
So I'm glad that we've got you to take all those big words and translate them into a smaller story that all of us can read.
Yeah. So then now they're accessible. Yes. Yeah. Yeah.
Because especially when you were talking about the recidivism, I always say it wrong. Earlier.
Recidivism. Yeah. Yeah. It's a big word. It's an important topic.
Yeah. And maybe for people who are on here, do you want to explain a little bit about what that is before people have to go Google it?
Well, you know what? I want to hold back going deeper into all of that until we launch that book, because we'll get into that, and we'll definitely educate and have people far more informed on it than I am to speak about it.
Got it. So from now, people can just Google it and get excited.
Yeah, exactly. That's a little spoiler. Yeah.
And so I know that all 4 books are in the works right now, being illustrated and whatnot. Will all 4 of them come out this year, or are they going to trickle?
I'm pretty sure they'll trickle. So like any good birth, these things take time. And I would say our world is not moving at the same pace as it did 2 years ago. And also, we're all not. And I feel like most of us are still, very much include myself in this, trying to continue to operate at the level that I did 2 years pre-pandemic, and it's actually not humanly possible anymore. And then there's just the reality of supply chains have slowed down, you know, operations have slowed down. So the humans, you know, we have. And so what I'm trying to do is, I was telling Chrissy today, and we have another person on our team, that I don't want us to, I'm just remembering, it's the same advice the teacher in the spiritual psychology program. She said, your idea with these books and their mission, they need to come at the right time. They can't just be something you create to check off a list and say, I'm done. Because I've always said, this is a bigger vision and mission, and I'm just a conduit. It's coming through me. You know, that's just it. And so I'm trying to listen to what's happening in the world and release them in a way that's as grounded as it can be in this moment in time. And at the right time for that particular emotion, that character or that collaborator too, because we really want to use our platform to showcase our collaborator. So
Awesome.
I think we'll be able to do a couple this year and a couple next year based on what I see unfolding at this stage.
Awesome. Exciting. Well,
Yeah.
I know that, like you said, when they are released, it will be the perfect time. And I know that everyone's going to love them because, like I said, they're just great stories. Is there anything else you want to share that maybe we didn't cover before we wrap up?
I just wanted to thank folks who have been along for the ride since we launched them in 2018, and many before that, because they were part of the Lil Sass street teams, or they were part of the actual launch that we did at the Venice Beach roller rink. So many of my friends and family have put so much of their heart into this, supporting me to get them out into the world. And a lot of folks have stayed along over the past couple of years when we haven't had, anything new, or, oh my goodness, I'll just say, like last year, I was in my own emotions so deeply that I wasn't active on social media or creating new things. So I want to thank you. I just want to thank you from the bottom of my heart for believing in this brand, this mission, for the texts you send or the DMs you send to say, hey, I just want you to know these books have really helped me and my kids, or they've really helped me. That keeps me going. That keeps
Awesome.
me going. It keeps me know that, okay, there's something here. Let's keep moving forward. So that's what I want to say is thank you
Awesome.
to all the fans and all the Sassanites, as we've called them in the past.
I love it. I love it. Well, thank you for taking the time to do this Q&A with me. And, I'm going to share it on my personal profile as well. So I hope, anybody listening here or watching will feel free to share it if you'd like. And I guess we will just be in touch. So I will see you next time, Christy.
Thank you so much, Chrissy, and thank you for being the midwife of Lil Sass and staying along for this next adventure with, as we expand and grow so much with so much more happening. So love you and appreciate you.
Love you too. Bye.
Keep on.